First of all, welcome, welcome, welcome. I will just start it off for a quick second here. We're so happy everybody is here, and we welcome anybody else who's going to join us. This is a big year, a huge year for all of us, because we've all gotten to this point where every Sunday we are raising our vibration, and our vibration is matching each other. And that is huge right there. Yay, too, whoever put that on. I'll take it. We're matching our vibrations. We have become more than just Zoomers. We are, I think, friends because we have exposed each other and ourselves at the gut level, at the soul level, at the heart level. And spiritually, you can't get closer than that, I don't think. So I am so grateful to have this friendship of Zoomers here. And that's first of all what I wanted to say to all of you. I'm really grateful for all of you. The next thing is this month says the celebration of a huge friendship of Jeanne and mine, as well as Mary Beth and Roy and Jan and Marie, if she's here too, all of us, because we all began our interaction with the Challenger crew members on the other side. When that accident happened, we had no idea that all of us would soon be interlinked in a very finely woven friendship. And along the way, we've collected many, many individuals on both sides of the plane, as well as Dan now, of course, is part of the team. And so what Jeanne and I are going to go through is, and Dan, is we're going to kind of bring up a little bit of memory as to how their friendship has impacted us. How have they come into our lives, and how do they remain in our lives? And then we'll open this up to questions or comments, etc. And then how are you affected by spirits on your side that have become your friends? And I think that's real important. We all have to recognize it. We have so many who are there with us, and it might be a sibling and it might be a loved one, but it may be just a friend who's there to stand by you at all times on the other side, and all of a sudden you feel them holding you. So this is a year for friendship. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeannie because she's going to open our meditation. Are you ready? Are you here, Jeanne? Knock, knock. Okay.
Yes, enough. So actually, it's a community effort, and I would like to add to that wonderful beginning, Regina, that if there is any kind of word for the year, I would say friendship and community. Um, I think that what we're seeing, if you've been following the monks that have been walking in the United States, it took a while, but now it's really become a thing. And they've started in Fort Worth, Texas in October, and they are going to get to DC. I think they're halfway through, so they're supposedly will get to DC February. And I think that as a collective, I would like to attach to their consciousness of walking for peace. And in that, there's a solidarity that I see coming in all the comments that are on social media and how people's lives have been changed just by standing there and watching them walk by. And these are people from all walks of life. So, what a masterful demonstration of companionship, friendship, community. And as this world needs to be recalibrated, and that's what the monks are walking for, is that balance to come back. We can take this opening in this matrix that they're really building as they walk to step into the consciousness even more completely of this unity, this friendship, this community. And as we're listening to different stories today, and I know that a couple of the astronauts are here to speak. I have Dick Scobie with me right now. Um, they are going to share with you how their lives have changed, how their perceptions have changed, and what it means to them to be part of such a big project that just started out as a rescue mission. And so, as we're getting ready to go into the shield for protection today, um, I know that we're going to open our hearts and our minds and allow ourselves to be touched at the deepest level of community, at the deepest level of companionship, of friendship, and this it takes a village, and really allow ourselves to realign at the deepest levels with what we've been doing personally and what we are now doing collectively. The New Year's, well, the solstice work and then the New Year's peace meditation that I did is all about that and that belonging to the I am and feeling the connection not only between us as people of the earth, but as the star people, the other souls, the other enlightened beings that are with us at this time, that are really coming as close as they can. The more we open up to them, the more we allow their help. They help us to stay strong and clear and calibrated, if you will. It's again, it's this wonderful friendship between worlds and here in the greater reality. So this is a powerful time as we begin this man-made but still needed to be honored time period of newness and bringing in the new. So let's just take a moment to close our eyes and sit back and relax. Start taking some deep breaths to feel the energy that is promised for us today as we are collectively joining, as Regina said. We've gotten comfortable with each other, which is very good because that means we feel safe with each other. We feel protected. And we know that as we gather on these Sundays that we allow spirit to have its way with us, if you will, to bring us more, to have us experience more of ourselves and to experience more in general for new understanding, new wisdom, for celebration, for inspiration. And so we're so grateful as we are in first our small uh, shield, which is a small four-sided pyramid. We relax in the energetic and we feel the boundary lines. The first boundary line is attached to the base of the pyramid. And then there's another boundary line that's about a foot and a half out from that. And it extends all the way up to the top of this small four-sided pyramid. And this is our indication and our intention of relaxing, but also being very protected. And as we're in this field, we let go of anything that might bother us, any leftover things, worries, concerns, things that we've been mulling over, long-term projects, short-term experiences, but things that no longer serve our purpose, no longer serve our highest good. And we just let it go into the light and we just breathe it out of us. We clear anything that's discordant. We clear anything that's dark or chaotic. We clear the in between. We clear toxic streams. We clear any kind of contamination from AI or any other types of contamination that might be floating around in the atmosphere. We just set the intention of a wonderful, pristine experience today as we're letting go of things that uh, do not serve us. So we're all ready to step in now to the larger group shield, which is a very large four-sided pyramid with these energy bands that swirl around us in such synchronicity as to keep a very pristine environment. We walk through the angelic node as we walk into the group shield. We find a comfortable spot where we've been before, whether it's in a nice reclining chair or in a yoga mat, whatever is good for us personally. And as we're in this space, the intention is to build the sacred, to connect to the sacred, to be the sacred, bringers of the light. And so we sit in this intention of goodness and strength and authority and wellness. And we breathe slow, deep breaths, making sure we're connected to ourselves. We can be very grounded and yet very expanded. We resonate with each other again in comfort and gratitude. We're in this holy place, this holy space. The I am, the source, however we view it. And we feel that wonderful resonance within us, that vibration, that incredible space. We've trained ourselves to be able to step into it with the least amount of difficulty, resistance, and here we are, open, ready, excited, giving ourselves a gift of community, of friendship, comfort. And so we begin. Lovely.
Thank you, Jeannie. Got to step away a sec. I have to close a window. Hang on.
As I look at the temperature, it's actually warmer in Nebraska where Regina is right now than where it is here in Southern California. It doesn't happen very often. It's kind of funny. Lots of rain, lots of cold temperatures and rain. And it looks to be like you're 63 and windy in Nebraska, Regina.
Mm-hmm.
You're warmer than we are.
It's lovely. It's lovely. So do you want to keep going or?
Here in Marin County, just north of San Francisco, we've been having flooding really for the first time I can remember.
You guys have been
a
saturated.
combination of what is called the king tides this time of year and the rains, the atmospheric rivers coming in. It's been quite something.
That's a Gershwin tune, isn't it? Atmospheric river. Da, 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 da.
Close.
Okay. I think, well, if it's okay with you, Commander Scobie would like to address the group first, if that's to your liking. So may I go ahead with that?
Yes, please.
So Commander Scobie, Richard Scobie, is commander of the Challenger crew, and he's working to not be very emotional, but it's like we've kind of given up on that in a good way. And I will be kind of lightly channeling him. He won't be in completely, but I'm so used to him that it's easy to hold his energy, and I'll be like I have before in the past, speaking for him. Good day, everyone. This is Commander Scobie, Richard Scobie. We dropped the word dick because that isn't necessarily culturally appropriate anymore. And sometimes you use it against me negatively, and I would like to be able to have editorial process on that, so I'm not called a dick all the time. And if that offends you, I'm sorry, but that is a comforting astronaut military talk. Just to let you know that it isn't always Jeannie sitting here talking. I would like to congratulate myself and Jeanne today in the process of her getting ready for her appearance on Zoom, that I no longer have a problem with her sitting in front of a mirror, putting on makeup or dressing herself, which used to make all of us gentlemen in the group quite nervous and anxious. As we first experienced her, we were not prepared for coming through a female and feeling the female body and the emotions and the energy that went with it. And we spoke about it some more than others. But after 40 years, I'm happy to say we're like an old married couple. And I'm very comfortable coming through Jeannie and having her embrace me with her energetic. I was thinking how I would introduce myself today. I never think I do very well. I don't really like public speaking. But the one thing I do want to say is, looking back on 40 years, I had never a thought that when this relationship first started with Jeanne and with Regina and with the others, that 40 years later, I would end up talking through her over a process called Zoom, which did not even exist when I was in the body. I also couldn't ever tell you the process of what those 40 years were like for any of us, but for myself, from the desperation and the fear and the sadness and the anger that I experienced at my first leaving my body, to having the presence and the privilege of being with all of you, to be able to have a continued platform to say that we did not die, and to be able to reassure you that there is definitely a greater reality and we do live eternally, and that there is more to this expression of consciousness than any one of us could do justice to in trying to describe it. My friendship and relationship with these two women in particular is indescribable. Their willingness to be open, to continue to let us bother them, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Their willingness to give us voice, to heal ourselves, help us get our message out, and then to show others the beauty of life beyond the physical world. Roy and Jan and Mary Beth came in to this circle after we had been working with Jeanne and Regina for several months. And once they stepped into the circle, it became vibrant and aligned and supported. We had concerns about the two women carrying our energies for too long a period of time. We did not want to see them in any type of illness or contamination from everything that they were taking from the situation. But when the others joined, and then more, we felt that we had a wonderful organization around us where we felt that everyone was supported and that we could control as best we could the energies needed to help us continue to do our work. I do want to say one thing, though, very publicly. I speak for the whole group. We all wish to apologize for the tremendous loss that those in the group, more than others, had as a result of their connection to bringing our message forward. I think that more than that all of you are our friends, I think that we are your friends with such dedication and respect and honor. What we did in terms of flying into space was nothing in comparison to what folks like you do every day, and believing and standing up and supporting the understanding and the knowing that we live forever and that we do not die, and that there is healing, and that there is forgiveness, and that there is the ability to change things positively. That is not an easy path. I've seen my own lives and other times when I've been asked to do that, and it's led up to one of the reasons why I chose to be in the circumstances that I'm in now. To in some way help to persuade a hungry world that love is the consciousness of this planet, and that, if you call it a God, is what brought us here. You all are warriors. Many of you have had to hide. Many of you have had many disappointments, but you're still here. Regardless of whether you worked with us closely or you had your own groups, your paths have been tough. Much tougher than becoming an astronaut, much tougher than public speaking. And we as a group wish to honor all of you for your dedication, your love, your strength, your wisdom, and your tenacity. As you can see, I'm a bit overwhelmed. It's not really Jeanne's overwhelmedness, it's mine. It's the group that they have dedicated themselves for 40 years to keep our memory alive and to do what they can to keep our story untarnished, to keep it real, to keep it there. And regardless of how much of this information will finally get out globally, there's enough of it that the seeds are being planted. Friendship is everything. True, deep friendship is the ability to forgive, to support, to fight for, and then to play. I just would like to thank you all so very much, and especially to Wendy, for reminding these women and gentlemen that this is their story, and to continue forward no matter what. It will be heard, because it is not just about 7 astronauts or 14 astronauts losing their lives in space. It is about the genuine dedication to purpose and the belief that something is so important that no matter what, it's going to be walked through with grace and honor in this world until its completion. I never would have been able to say this 40 years ago, but I have grown, I have been helped, I have healed, I have been honored, I have been redeemed, as we all have. And as you have gathered to honor us, it's really that we wanted you to gather so that we could honor all of you in your work and your daily living, in the difficulty of being unusual, that you are the ones who see the path. You are the ones that are the light bringers. You bring the stories. You bring the worthiness of life to this world. And that is all I have to say at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jeannie. It's been very interesting these last 40 years because when they've come in and gone out, it's like they disappear for a while and then they knock on our door all of a sudden and start chatting away as if maybe they've shifted gears and gone to another place and had a new beginning and a new exciting role and new sphere. And then they come back and, hey, guess what we just found out?
Mhm.
And it's been a wild and interesting ride each along the way. And throughout all of this, Jeannie and I have both, with the teammates, we've been interacting with so many other individuals too. So it's never been just the astronauts. And we've never had just one particular individual who we're always bringing through, like many of the other channelers. Although Jeannie is very fine, skilled medium for bringing Seth in, that's a huge energy. But when we're bringing in the astronauts or any of these space individuals or space explorers, it's like we're sitting in the living room with them. It's except the difference is when you sit in the living room with anybody, even your best friend, your husband, your wife, your kids, there is always a holding back because there's that sense of, we still judge ourselves, we doubt ourselves, or others are going to judge us, especially after we've gone through holiday season together. And some people don't interact really well together. They're afraid they're going to be treated like they were 5 years old, and sometimes they actually are. But when these individuals come through, it's like the walls are completely gone. There is no judgment. And it's us whom they are putting at ease because we're still a little, we're still a little bit holding back, but they've gotten to the point where they just jump on in and start talking and it's a very interesting thing. I've had a solid week of this happening to me in a surprise. The astronaut Sally Ride was hanging around, and I didn't know that until I went swimming. And she showed up in the swimming pool the other day. And I was just dumbfounded because I thought I was alone, but I wasn't. Anyway, she started the following day to write through me. And I'm not going to read her work yet. She's because I talked to her about that. She's laying the groundwork to where to the information she wants to read. So that will come later on. But I'm fascinated as it is. And I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from her except Jeannie would bring her through every now and then, but I really hadn't experienced her. And again, it's that same sense of comfort. Like I've known her all along, your best friend. And you know how you have a best friend where you can go without talking to them for ages, and all of a sudden you pick up the phone and it's as if you've started the conversation right from where you left off. It's just as good. There is no hesitation. They're always your friend. Well, that's how these individuals are. And I hope everybody understands what that means. It's the best I can share is that there's just no judgment. It's pretty crazy, pretty good feeling. I am going to go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I just wanted to very briefly express my appreciation to both of you. We met in 2008, late 2018, I believe, and I was immediately impressed. I would say blown away by your talents. Um, but it's also our connections also meant a great deal to me personally, in terms of clearing up some inner mysteries in my own life and satisfying my curiosity about many things and enhancing my ability to see beyond just the mundane reality. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to both of you.
All right. And this will answer what Hyacinth just asked me. She said, do the seven of them sometimes get together? Yes. Yes.
All the time.
All the time. But not always with us, but yes. And we can feel them show up. Oh my gosh, they're like a one time, I don't remember where we were, what we were doing, and both Jeanne and I noticed the Challenger crew. Both of us said the same time, "Hey, they're here." And we said, they're all in Hawaiian shirts. I don't remember what it was, but
I don't either, but I remember the shirts.
I remember the shirts. They were all in Hawaiian. Both of us saw these Hawaiian shirts on all these. And I thought, oh, finally, they got rid of the uniforms. But it was like showing us that they came in the Hawaiian shirts was telling us that they've moved past. But they were also happy and celebrating. Maybe they had Mai Tais, I don't remember, but they were in Hawaiian shirts. Anyway, this will kind of give you an idea of how well they work together. And this happened. This is from my journal, and this happened just before we met Dan. Go to the top. This was Tuesday, February 12th, 2019. It was an excellent day to fly. I didn't have to catch the early bird flight and could be dropped off at our little Chadron Airport at 10:30 for the 11:45 direct to Denver. While waiting for the TSA to open their screening, I was suddenly aware of the whoop, whoop, whoop of the helicopter blades cutting through the morning air. I knew it was close by and hoped it would land close. Chadron Municipal Airport often sees military aircraft fly in and perform touch and goes on this quiet runway. I ran outside the terminal in hopes of watching it land at the helipad, but I was too late. The large green military transport helicopter was already taxiing toward our terminal, and the rotors were still circling as they slowly came to a stop. A mechanic jumped out, and I snapped the photo. My adrenaline was soaring. Stuff like this always gets me excited, but today it seemed more intense than usual. Was it the jet fuel I was smelling, or the copter's engine sound, or the whirl of the blades as they cut the air? What was this excitement in me? As soon as I asked the question, my answer appeared, and instantly I was flanked by the entire crew of the Columbia STS-101. Ah, yes, of course. I'm in good company, I thought to myself. And moreover, I recognized the Challenger team appeared, and they were right with me too. Struggling to get a good shot of the helicopter, I shoved my camera lens between the cyclone fence links, which separated me from the tarmac. And then I heard one of the guys shout out, "Let's go check out this gal." And just as quickly as they appeared next to me, they all passed through the fence and strolled toward the helicopter. I was left behind the fence. I could hear all their excitement chattering as they made their way to the military craft. I shook my head in amusement, thinking, this is going to be an interesting and unpredictable trip. No one's going to believe me when I tell them this, I thought, as I headed back into the terminal. And just then, the TSA called out to me. The screening had begun. Security at our little Chadron Municipal Airport is pretty simple. And as I sat in the security area, waiting for our 9-passenger plane to arrive, my thoughts wandered to the Columbia and Challenger crews. Suddenly, I heard someone whisper in my ear, "Which Columbia crew member flew helicopters?" Good question. I have no idea, I responded. Okay, I'll bite. So into the web I dove, typing into my phone, "Which Columbia crew member flew helicopters?" And on my first hit, I got this, the N-17PA and the STS-107. The article came up, "The Columbia Debris Recovery Helo Crash, March 27th, 2003. I'd never heard this story, but it was about the Columbia debris recovery crew who had searched more than 1.3 million acres and recovered thousands of debris pieces as a result of the air search operations. More importantly, this story and my attention were brought to it by the two men who died during the recovery process, Jules Buzz Meir and Charles Cranick. On March 27, 2003, while flying over the debris field, their Bell helicopter with 3 other passengers went down, and both pilots in the cockpit were killed instantly in the crash. As I read the article, I realized both pilots were standing next to me in the Chadron airport. Instantly, I was overwhelmed by their death and the loss of 2 more flight personnel. Breathe, Regina, breathe, breathe, I kept repeating to myself. Both Meir and Cranick had lost their lives as part of the Columbia recovery, and little was written about them. On the website, I read that a 3/4-ton, 2-foot-tall monument was erected in their honor in the small town of Hemphill, Texas. It stood near the 1-ton, 5-foot-tall column built for the Columbia crew. And now in our tiny Chadron airport, both men stood next to me. Neither felt ostentatious, nor particularly big in their own energy. It was then that I noticed the Challenger crew member, Judy Resnick. It was Judy who brought the pilots to me. It was Judy who had whispered into my ear. She wanted me to recognize these 2 crewmen. They are part of the Columbia crew too, she said. These and the many others who helped bring them home. Those pieces of our shuttles and our remains, they are our heroes and a part of our story. As my tears well up inside me, I had to put on my sunglasses so the other passengers would not see me cry. Judy led both pilots away from me, assuring them they would not be forgotten. The depth of this new information as it washed over me, and this grief was so painfully present, and 16 years later, I still had never known. When I boarded our small aircraft that would fly low just over the tops of the Nebraska Panhandle, I knew Meir and Cranick were on board as well, and they peered out the window. I felt like I was in mourning, and my tears, or were they theirs, flowed freely. My heart was heavy. How could I have not known? Why hadn't I been shown this story years ago, 16 years ago, and why now? During the next several hours of my flight, I stared out the window, while hundreds of questions raced from my mind and out to the universe of spirits. Silently, I prayed to the Challenger and the Columbia crew that I could hear their words and their messages clearly. I landed in LAX after a breathtaking flight over the Rockies and across the Great Plains of Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and into California. And near approach, the 737 swept over the San Gabriel Mountains between San Antonio and San Gregorio. I grew up in this area and knew them well. They were covered in a much-needed snowpack, and these mountains brought back my early high school memories of backpacking and camping, and later of flying over the rugged terrain with my neighbor in his 4-seater Cessna. I hadn't thought of these things in years. Then I heard one of my invisible seatmates say, "Those were pretty good times, weren't they?" Yes, they were, I replied, my thoughts meandering to my first 21 years, raised here in Los Angeles, where the mountain range was my backyard. As anticipation was in the air, as the plane banked west, I turned to the rustling tables and seats which were being placed into their upright positions and thought the flight was already at full capacity. But I could see now the entire NASA team seated in the already occupied seats. There was the Apollo 1 crew with Gus Grissom and Roger Chaffee. And John Glenn and Alan Shepard were in there. the Challenger crew, and the Columbia crew. There were many others, many I didn't know, but they knew each other. And it seemed as if I were flying in a different time zone, different time altogether, in another world. And because these passengers were all flight personnel who were very much deceased. Today's American Airlines flight was definitely overbooked. The early morning for the two pilots turned into a reunion with former pilots, all who had tried to reach the stars. What a flight. And I heard Judy Resnick whisper to me, "Get ready. You ain't seen nothing yet. You are only just getting started." That's it. Thanks for allowing me to read all of that.
Well, and I'm so glad you did, because I remember hearing this before, and it really connects with other stories that I know you're going to put in the book, because one of the things that's so impressive about all this is how interconnected all of these experiences are. And it's hard for us to give you all of them today. Hopefully next in February, we're going to continue to present more to show the synchronicity of all of this, and how Regina just has this uncanny knack for all of these people, you can tapping her on the shoulder and whispering in her ear and bringing all sorts of things forward that are amazing. And if I can, I realize now we had talked to Regina about, I want to talk about this project. Project Hope is what Spirit has named it. And the reason why all of this is so important with this particular group of scientists and engineers and astronauts is that of course, it's something that's been organized, and was organized as a way of bringing in an understanding to continue what had started in the late 1800s, which I've spoken to before, about bringing the continuation of life forward in a major way. You have Eileen Garrett, who was an amazing medium who brought forth the airmen who wouldn't die that John
John
Fuller wrote about.
Mm.
And they made the book that he wrote about the airmen the Ghost of Flight 401 with the downing of an Eastern Airlines plane, and all these ways of bringing forward just undeniable evidence. And the reason why we had, as a group, had chosen this group of astronauts and people connected is because they are more of the scientific part of life. They're not necessarily coming up through religious affiliations or paranormal studies. They are people who are scientists who promote their work on facts and things that are right in front of them. And as a group consciousness on the other side, before we all incarnated, we felt this would be a very demonstrable way to prove, without a doubt, the hierarchy of the continuation of life. And it became a big thing. And everybody that was involved with it had promised to do their part, including the astronauts that lost their lives. And when they first came through us, that was one of the things that we were talking to them about, which of course their human self was really rejecting, and they were very angry. Why would we choose this? You know how that goes. And then they finally have become, over the years, to understand, of course it was their choice. And this big, huge unit of consciousness that we are all a part of, this Project Hope, is to bring in indisputable evidence to those who are either on the fence or already there, or maybe some who are just not quite identifying yet, and then can really sink their teeth into so much material being obviously true and unfakeable in so many ways. And that's one of the reasons why part of that also goes into the famous people that Regina and I have channeled that are not necessarily NASA or engineers, who have been more political, or especially the Hollywood, certain personalities of Hollywood. They're all part of this group. And we do come in groups to do things. This is a particularly large group. And then, of course, you have subgroups in that. But we all are players in this, agreeing to bring this in each in our own way to hold and support it. And I love what she has written, because it really shows the depth of this continuity of what they're doing on the other side to bring these things to the population and to the world. And I'm just going to read, with your permission, a very small portion of something. I didn't realize how very big it was until I printed it off and went, oh, I can't do that. But this is something that will be included in the book. And I've talked about this a little before, but this is this goes along with addressing the continuity of our continued friendship, and also what they have been doing to bring us to the public, and how there's been this concerted effort as they become guides, as they become instructors, as they learn how to use the energies to bring us out so that people can be connected to us and vice versa. And this wonderful webbing can take place, and connecting the dots. And 3 years after the Challenger, my husband and I were approached by George Meek, and some of you know who he is. He was quite a researcher, and he was getting ready to retire from his paranormal group that he had. And he chose Tom to run his organization because he was a mathematical physicist and he had a very psychic wife. And
Tom was your husband,
right? And I was teaching in Buffalo at the time because Tom had taken leave of work to become a house husband and see if he could get some of his papers published. And the opportunity came for us to go to Switzerland in the middle of November of 1989 for this huge Psi conference. Apparently, they had them every year in different locations. Maybe that they're always in Basel, but I don't remember. And the person that they had a group of well-known speakers that were going to be there, and one of them was not able to attend, so they chose me to go, not really knowing who I was. It was a wonderful door opening for me, and I know Spirit, as you all recognize, had a lot to do with that. And as a consequence, there's 1,600 people at this conference. It's such a big conference that they have interpreters there. People were from South America, from Australia, from England, from Germany, France, etc. And this was also the week in which the Berlin Wall was starting to come down. And here we were in the midst of it. And I just want to read you a little bit about my experience there, being recognized as a valid medium versus when in America, it was terrible trying to come through with anything at the time with the Challenger crew. The ridicule was pretty intense, even by people who were open to it. It was pretty difficult. Anyway, thank you. Hopefully it should be really short. I was an in the closet psychic. I preferred to see myself as a teacher, as someone who helped others gain understanding and insight into their lives. However, I was also trained in rescue work, meaning I was trained to help those who had died suddenly, tragically, and were caught in between worlds and needed help to complete their journey to the other side. As an empath, I could really relate to those in the trauma of the situation, and I feel that empathy helped them to receive the help I was giving to them. There are other conditions, however, that make this work very interesting. To this day, I'm still called to help the suicide the accidental overdose, or the quick and sudden death of someone who is not prepared for what is next. And I am grateful to be of service. Being in Europe for this conference brought something new and brilliant to me quite unexpectedly. My skills were received with open arms. I was not seen as the pariah or as the devil's worker. I was welcomed, greeted with honor for my work and the gifts that I used to help others. It was beyond refreshing. It meant that I didn't have to hide for fear of the criticism that found me back home. I was asked to channel while I was there. The conference had many smaller groups of all offering different experiences. I've been assigned a group for the express purpose of channeling. There were several other channelers there. One impressed me very much. A young man who was said to be channeling someone from, well, it was a very long name. It was like the seventh ray of the fourth son of the never ending story. And he couldn't really name the person that what he was, and it was Seth. Jane Roberts' husband, Robert, was trying to protect Jane, and so he said that Seth would never channel through any other medium ever again. And if you tried to say he spoke through you as a medium, he would come at you legally. It was a very big disappointment for so many of us. No one can limit a spirit. Seth is a universal oversoul energy. Anyway, the young man, whose name I cannot remember, was brilliant and true to the consciousness of Seth. I sat with him for a few minutes afterwards, and I said, "So you are channeling, Seth?" He put his head down like his best kept secret had just been revealed, and sheepishly shook his head. Then he began to talk about how frustrating it was to hide the fact, and how marvelous a channel he was. And no matter the name that he was able to use in his work, he and Seth made a wonderful team. It was great to know Seth this way across the pond. And that was one of the blessings that came from this. So the phone calls were coming in from around the various parts of the country and the countries in Europe to the people that were in attendance here at the Psi conference because of the wall coming down. And you had no cell phones at the time, but relatives and friends were reporting in to those people in attendance at the conference to give them an update about what was happening with the wall in Berlin. So we continued as a result of this information with prayers, meditating, sending energy. We were united in the purpose of this global healing event. It was truly one of the most powerful experiences of my life. It was proof that consciousness, when united, can shift a worldview. A stubborn situation, a lingering condition that had been blamed, or deeper conditions and thought to be chronic. It taught me that beliefs create shifts all the time. And then it was my turn to channel. There were two who came through that day at the Psi conference. Krista McCullough was one, and then there was Gandhi. Both times my heart was pounding, and I was thinking, oh my God, I have done it. How can I do this in public in front of so many people? They're going to think I'm crazy. You see, it didn't fully matter that I was accepted by others here at this conference for being genuine with my gifts. I still had terrified parts of me that were afraid to be different, afraid to be wrong, afraid that I would be called an imbecile or a fraud. I don't know what Krista said all those years ago, but I do remember what a warm welcome she received. I remember how the participants came up to me afterwards and thanked me for bringing this beautiful spirit to them to help them understand things about the Challenger accident and to understand what the crew was going through, how they have been helped, and what they are focused on now. It was all very positive, very accepted, and very much appreciated. There was no questioning the authenticity of the message, of the messenger, or the spirit of Krista delivering the message. This wouldn't have happened had it been for the various connections which Spirit had set up for us. All these connections were being drafted behind our backs, without our conscious knowing. Looking back on it, I find it difficult to do this whole event justice and to fully describe the steps of getting to Basel in the first place. This was a huge turning point in my career, one which would reward me personally, but also challenge me professionally. And then it was Gandhi's turn. As with Krista, I don't remember much of what Gandhi addressed in his communication. What I do remember is how he spoke of the events going on at the time. The bringing down of the Berlin Wall, a symbol so dark and destructive that it would take all of us peacemakers to aid in this final destruction. He coached all of us to bring it down with the envelope of heart consciousness. He spoke to us as willing, gifted participants in this life-changing event. Very grateful for the timing, the synchronicity of the conference was such a huge opportunity to visibly experience the power of thought. I can still recall the feelings I had while he was speaking through me. I was overwhelmed at myself for even daring to do this in front of others, but also feeling so safe and grateful that he was here for us, giving us support and instruction at a pivotal time. We needed him. He knew this, and he stepped forward. After the brilliant message of peace, love, and action, I began the slow descent back into my physical world and took some time to breathe myself into the humanness of the surroundings. I had no idea what the feedback would be after such a dramatic step forward in channeling the presence of Gandhi. As people were leaving the room, each filled with a deep understanding of their role during the time of communion, a small little Indian man approached me. He was older, but I couldn't really sense his age. Rather, he seemed timeless, as if the earth cycles of aging had somehow passed him by. He was quiet, but filled with hope as he started to speak to me. "Oh, my dear," this tiny elderly gentleman explained, "I am so very grateful that you brought my dear friend Gandhi to me. I have missed him so. I could feel his presence within you, and I knew that he had not been lost, but stays with us to this very day. Thank you. I say this because I served Gandhi as a cook for approximately 6 years. I would know his energy anywhere. Thank you so much. Thank you." I just stood there. My mouth must have been sinking to the floor by the time he finished sharing with me. I knew it was Gandhi. We can't fake the energy of another, especially one so very spiritually advanced. But it was another for me to share with others so publicly in hopes that they too would feel his love and greatness. I was humbled, blessed, and honored to be comforted by this confirmation of his presence in my life as he shared with others. Thank you, Spirit, for showing me this, for gifting me this truth, and to no longer be afraid of who I was or what message I would bring. The message of Gandhi speaking quickly spread throughout the conference. In our meditations during the conference's remaining days, we now felt the honorable presence of Gandhi and his entourage of spiritual beings who were walking alongside of this historic event. Within hours, the news came through that the wall had begun to fall, that thousands were cheering on the demise of this ugly barrier, which only brought separation, pain, and suffering. People were declaring liberation from the tyrant of oppression. Freedom, freedom, freedom. We danced as the family and friends danced. We celebrated. We gave thanks. We were totally encircled with the power of thought as active prayer. We were in a moment filled with true illumination and awakening. We had done what we had come together to do, all 1,600 of us from all around the globe.
Mhm.
And that is another demonstration of community, of friendship, and the continuity of spirit, seen or unseen, and what being connected to the Challenger crew did for me in getting me able to be seen in other places other than the United States and feeling welcomed. So I'm done now, but I wanted to share that if that's we can go on to the next. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, if there are any more questions or comments, jokes.
As
This is
Regina,
this is a pretty heavy session.
but I I think appreciation, I think it's good to show all sides of mediumship and spiritual communication, because too often there is this concept that everything is just so lovely and you just walk over and there you are. And that for most people is what happens. But that's not necessarily what happens to people who are killed tragically, suddenly murdered. Even they're just, it doesn't always happen. Suicides, they don't just necessarily go over the other. And there may be spirits there to guide them, but if their belief system is blocked, you won't see them. Well, we've had experiences with that. One of the things that was hard for, and I think we'll get into this more next time, but talking about how they were brought to us. And I think that's a good one to leave it with. But I think it's important to see all sides of things. And also see then the healing that comes out from it. There was Casey coming in right after Rick and just changing everything for Regina, changing the energy for her so that she was not going to be in any more jeopardy. And that's why the meaning, the words of Dick Scobie at the very beginning were so powerful. Sorry for any of the losses, because all of us had a lot of loss that we can really attribute to the energetic of being connected to that work and doing it anyway. And I know there are others that are crusaders in their own way, in their own groups too. And I think this is a time, is the beginning of the new year, to really honor who we are, pat ourselves on the back a few times, live in grace with ourselves, really honor who and what we do, because we are the light. We bring the light. And people would say to me in, sessions, "Oh, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing?" It's like, your purpose is to bring the light. You're light bearers, light bringers. Bring the light, bring the light. However you choose to do that. Writing poetry, being a teacher, being a garbage collector, being a postal person, being a singer, whatever and however you choose, is to bring the light. And it's your story. You're the writer. Write a good story. If you don't like the story, then throw away the script and begin again. And realize that you are doing what you need to do, and that is to bring the light. So think of those monks that are walking in the United States with us. If you can put in Walk for Peace, monks walk for peace, and it'll show up all sorts of stuff. They have police officers escorting them now. It's not required. They've just joined in. They're just getting thousands of people following them. Well, main stage media wasn't wanting anything to do with it, because it wasn't sensational enough. But the power they bring is incredible. So we can step with them in that and build up. When I look at them, I don't see 19 monks. I see hundreds, if not thousands, of monks walking with them spiritually, energetically. I mean, it's massive in that regard. Anyway, thank you all. I think we'd agreed to it for, at least Regina and I did, for next time.
Lloyd's got a question here, Jeannie.
Go ahead.
Well, actually, I wanted to share something that Stuart and I are neighbors. We live in a community, and one of our neighbors has been in a nursing home up in Oregon for the last 6 months or so, and she's choosing to exit on Tuesday. She doesn't have any beliefs about it. She's starting to soften a little bit, but she's been pretty hard-nosed, thinking this is all. And we're going to do a vigil for her on Tuesday morning, which is around the time that she's choosing. And I also I'm an elder caregiver, so I have a client who's right now going through the dying process a few blocks away from here. And I don't know, I just wanted to share that and see if anybody has any comments, I guess.
I do. I do. Lloyd, remember that no matter what their belief system, if their life has been led good and they're kind people and they've lived from their heart, no matter what, they will be cared for. There are those on the other side who will help them, even your own guardians who've been here standing side with them. Even if they don't see them, they can be provided for. I know that's one thing people worry about is if will they see the light? Will they be taken care of? Bottom line is this is why we live this life to learn how to evolve and to see. And it doesn't matter what religion you're under or anything like that, or belief system. If you've chosen and made good choices, wise, kind choices, thinking of others and supporting that, there is no fear to be had. There is no fear. We all have to learn things on the other side, no matter what. We all have our phases that we have to learn. But it doesn't matter if she doesn't believe or has no belief system whatsoever. It'll come. It all happens.
Yeah, they've both led um, very well active lives in helping
Oh, then
helping
there's
make the
no,
world a better
no problem.
place.
No problem then.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Lloyd, if you're setting vigil for her, you're already opening the portal for her passage to be safe.
Mm.
And if you're working in elder care, you're already opening that. That's who you are. That's why you're led to do that. So whether you're conscious of you're facilitating or not, it's going on. You're directing that. And they're getting ready in preparation. That's the wonderful thing about all this, is that they get ready. And even if they're not the nicest people, if they've got people around them, I know because my brother was not the nicest person. And I really challenged him to tell him, oh no, the light's going to be there. And he was an absolute atheist.
Hmm.
And he said, oh, he rolled his eyes at me. He couldn't speak by that time. He was comatose, but he could roll his eyes at me to show me how unhappy he was with me thinking that. But he did definitely move over into the world of light and was brought there because I was really insisting on it in some ways. And he was able to accept it. So just know that setting that intention is already making it so.
Mm. I think the thing I need to remember is it. Nothing has to be said verbally or acknowledged intellectually. It's really all energy. Um, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to, just as we're about to conclude, thank both of you publicly
Oh,
for a session that we had recently. Just to, in a nutshell, a former partner of mine, from whom I'd been separated since 2019, suddenly died a few months ago. Causes unknown, but it was very sudden. And we had some major issues that had never been resolved and were not able to resolve. And it's partly because my communications were blocked. So on a private Zoom call that we had a couple of weeks ago, my friend came through and we had a wonderful opportunity to come to a resolution. It was a huge thing in my life. I want to thank you for that.
And that's why I love this stuff. If you're open, you can finish things, even if the person has passed to the other side. There can be a continuation of healing. I know some people don't want it. They'd come to me and I'd say, "Oh, your mother's here." "Oh, I don't want to hear from her." "Well, she's bringing you alms and sorries, but I don't want it. I don't want it." Okay. But it doesn't mean they don't try. And it doesn't mean that they're just being sleight of hand. When they come over, they they want to they want to apologize. They really want to apologize. It's been my experience. I haven't attracted those who are just playing games. They really want to ease the pain and suffering of a loved one.
mhm. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour. We're going to have to, everybody, Jeanne, you want to hold us bring us out of the shield and have the
Yes.
disconnect party.
A disconnect party.
Mhm. The party with whom you're connected to has disconnected.
Is this the party to whom I'm speaking? Um, yeah, we're just telephones now. Now that we have cell phones, I don't know. Anyway, my dear, wonderful light working friends, this is community, this is friendship, this is everything. And as we begin to separate ourselves from one another so we can go about the day's activities, let's take a few deep breaths and set the intention of separation one to the other, and especially for those that have already left Zoom and other things to do. Let's make sure they are disconnected from us. And then we also want to make sure that we're 0% connected to portals or functions, which means back in your bodies, come back from those other places, be in your feet, be here now. Changing our psychic signature because we created a wonderful bunch of light. Now we want to move from that. Not to hide, but just to be in a nice zone of comfort. So we are protected, we are safe, we are guided as the week progresses, as our new 2026 progresses. And we listen. We listen, we listen, we listen, and have the faith to accept our messages and have enough confidence to act, to listen, to have faith, and then to act, whatever the guidance is, as we go about being these wonderful, wonderful light workers. And if you want to go into another shield, a big one, or if you want to go into a personal one, just know that this protection walks with you. No matter what comes our way, we are so strong in our faith of knowing who we are, of being the light bringers, being in that wonderful balance, walking for peace, thinking for peace, speaking for peace, so that we may continue to guide ourselves and others in our daily world. And so it is.